Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Hey Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotra Srimad Divine Grace of Charna Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi all glorious assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Antaha Saha Tasmin Salile Aste Ananta Asanaha Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Stuyamanaha Janalaya hai Antasa Tasmin Shalila Aste Ananta Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Stuyamano Janalaya Antah sa Tasmin Salila Aste Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Tuyamano Janalaye Antasa Tasmin Shalila Aste Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Tuyamano Janalaye Nidra Nimilakshaha Tuyamano Janalaye Antasa Tasmin Shalila Aste Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Yamano Janale Lead. Antasa Tashmin Salila Aste Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Suyamano Janalaye. Ladies, Anantasa Tasmin Salila Aste Sano Hari Yoga Nidra Nimilakshaha Suyamano Janalaye. Antaha within Saha that Tasmin in that Salile water Aste there is Ananta Ananta Asana on the seat of Hari the Lord Yoga mystic Nidra sleep Nimilakshaha eye closed Suyamanaha being glorified Janale by the inhabitants of Janaloka. Translation proposed by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, lies down in the water on the seat of Ananta, with his eyes closed. And the inhabitants of the Janaloka planets offer their glorious prayers unto the Lord with folded hands, put by Srila Prabhupada. We should not understand the sleeping condition of the Lord to be the same as our sleep. Here the Lord, here the word Yoga Nidra is specifically mentioned, which indicates that the Lord's sleeping condition is also a manifestation of his internal potency. Whenever the word yoga is used, it should be understood to refer to that which is transcendental. In the transcendental stage, all activities are always present and they are glorified by prayers of great sages like Bhrigu. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. At the very outset, my obeisances to Maharaj, seeking your blessings and permission to speak on Bhagavatam in your holy presence. It's my great privilege to be in a place which is in our hearts glorified as a place which is sanctified by Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And therefore, to be here today in the divine presence of Radha Govinda Dev, this very glorious place of Prabhupada's pastimes, gives me an added sense of being specially blessed. So thank you for having me to speak on this verse, which is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Canto 3, Chapter 11, entitled Calculation of Time from the Atom. Text number 32. So this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam is a bit technical. As we know, Srimad Bhagavatam is a complete grantha. Krishna is perfect and complete. Oma Purnamada Purnamidam. Therefore, his manifest incarnation of Bhagavatam also, which is the Lord in the form of a grantha, coming from the Vyasdev's, from his Vyasdev's heart, is also equally perfect and complete. And therefore, all knowledge necessary for every human being to learn from is embodied in the divine produce of Srimad Bhagavatam. There is nothing which is outside. Everything is included in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's perfect. And therefore, even for scientific-minded people who are studying time. Time is a very important element studied in in the realm of physics, right? So here is also very beautiful indications of how time was calculated in Vedic times, right? And it is when we look at the, you know, calculation of time, that will become, I think they have calculated time even to the extent of, there's something called as Truti. I don't know if it came before or after. It became before that, right? Before, yeah. So 8 divided by something like 13,500, right? So that calculation of time of 8 by 1350 is not even known to modern man as yet. We talk of seconds, milliseconds, and microseconds. But a denomination lesser than that is not even known to modern man. It's such a small thing. And yet the Bhagavatam talks about such a small element of time. So the point is that the Bhagavatam is truly a scripture which gives you knowledge which is not even known to modern man in many, many fields. Here, the description which we are studying today from the Bhagavatam is about the beautiful form of the Lord. It's a nice meditation, actually, that after describing time, now Vyasa started talking about the Lord. Why was he talking about the Lord here when he's talking about time? Because he wants to emphasize the fact that here is a person who is the controller of time and is beyond time. So how does the Lord control this world? When we say the Lord is supreme controller, supreme enjoyer, Bhagavad Gita says, right? He is supreme enjoyer, controller, and proprietor of the world. So how does the Lord really control? The Lord's control is so powerful that he controls everything in the material realm through his power of time, right? Time is very powerful. Like Bhagavatam class starts at 8 o'clock, time. We are given certain breaths to live, which will last for a number of years, time. My flight is going to depart at this particular time. My ETA is this particular time. My insurance policy will expire at this particular time, right? The expected time of birth of the child from the womb is this particular time, right? So everything in which we do in this world is controlled by time. Is there anything which you can think of which is not controlled by time? The answer is no. Everything is controlled by time, and that shows the power of the Lord, that his power of the Lord is absolute. When the Lord controls, he controls absolutely. So the thing is beyond time. If something is beyond time, that means the Lord is not fully in control, because he can't control this, he can't control that, right? But the Lord controls everything perfectly and powerfully. And therefore, an estimation of the Lord's greatness for us sadhakas to some extent comes by understanding how powerful is time. If time is so powerful, then how powerful is the Lord himself, right? So that gives us, because the time is considered as an impersonal manifestation of the Lord. It is the Lord himself. Kalosmi, when the Lord says Kalosmi in Bhagavad Gita, he is actually, Kal is Bhagavan, but in his impersonal feature. And what is described today is, in the Bhagavatam pages, text 11, is the Lord in his personal features. This is the person and this is his Shakti. The time is the Lord's Parasa Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate, right? The Lord has got many, many Shaktis. And one of the Shaktis of the Lord is time factor. Prabhupada seems to talk about a little bit more about sleep. Something is very dear to us. Right? So sleep. And then Prabhupada wants to make a point here that his sleep and our sleep, right? Prabhupada has this very beautiful knack of always saying, the Lord eats, but not like our eating. The Lord is a person, but not like us, right? So Lord Prabhupada always gives this very comparative, that he is like us in some ways, but he is very different at the same time. So the Lord is sleeping here. We all sleep. Today night we all have slept, right? When we got up at our own times, some at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, depending on you know, whatever duties we had to perform, right? So we got up at different times. So when we sleep, what happens? When we sleep, we are in gross ignorance. Nothing around us is known, right? What's happening in the environment, what's happening outside. We are completely loose state of cognizance. So it's a non-cognizant state in one sense on the external platform. Of course, we know that the mind is active still and we are in a dreamy state. There are 4 stages of sleep. Alpha stage, beta stage, there are different stages of sleep are there, right? There's REM sleep is there, rapid eye movement sleep is there, right? Where sleep, where you dream a lot. So when we sleep, we see dreams, we snore, some people may drool, some people may have it severe nightmarish things. So we'll do different things in sleep, which are very mundane, right? But look at what Prabhupada is saying here. When the Lord sleeps, it is not nidra. When we sleep, it's called as nidra, simple nidra. Nidra means to sleep. But Krishna's, the Lord's sleep is called as yoga nidra. The big difference between nidra and yoga nidra. That means, and Prabhupada clarifies and this word yoga nidra by saying that word yoga means that Lord's sleep is transcendental. That means he never loses touch with reality. Krishna is never non-cognizant. Abhigya and Swarat is fundamental properties of the Lord. He is always, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first words, right? He is Abhigya. Abhigya means to always be in state of complete Gnya. Gnya means knowledge. Abhigya means he's always cognizant. Even if he's stealing butter in the house of Mother Yashoda, he's cognizant about what's happening in the Trikuta mountain to Gajendra. So he is always cognizant of everything. What kind of a, we have computers which are, we can monitor various things, but what's the Lord's computer in his heart? That he can be in any part of the creation, and yet the entire creation with unlimited number of living entities, he knows exactly which bacteria is where, which person is doing, what he is thinking, and what he is doing, and what he will do, and what he has done, right? So the Lord's greatness is unfathomable. Therefore, Jiva Goswami says that the only word which can qualify the Lord's nature, true nature, is that he is having achintya shakti. Who can imagine a person who has cognizance of everything in this universe? And we know that is not the only universe. Lord Chaitanya talks about Vasudeva Datta's story, right? When Vasudeva was told Mahaprabhu that, I see the whole world suffering so much, and can you pass on all their sinful activities on my head so that they are all delivered and they become free from suffering? Let every sin of every living entity in the universe come onto my head, and I'll suffer eternally for that. I have no problem with that, because he's Prahlad Maharaj incarnate, right? Mahaprabhu said, this is not difficult for me, right? If one universe is lost from this world, because in the creation, there is a bag of universes, like bag of mustard seeds. So how many mustard seeds are there in one bag? Which computer can calculate that? That is the amount of universe which is there in this material creation, right? And in that universes, how many living entities are there? These figures are, so then the Shastra uses a very simple word. It says asankhya. It should asankhya. I think this asankhya is something like, I don't remember, this is Vishwanath Thakur's word. He used asankhya. Something like, you remember? It's 10 raised to the power of some 27 or something like that. I'm not very sure, but so how many cows in Vrindavan? Asankhya. How many gopis the Lord had? Asankhya. How many living entities? Asankhya, right? So asankhya living entities, and the Lord knows exactly their past, their present, and their future, right? Vartamanani cha Arjuna. Krishna says in the Gita, Vartamanani cha, Vartaman, Bhavishani Bhutani, Mam tu Vedana Kaschana. Mam tu Vedana Kaschana. But me, Mam tu Veda, Veda means to know, Na Kaschana. You will never be able to know me. So Lord can never be known by anybody. Nambavita Suraganaha. Nobody, the Sura and Suras also, Asura. Nobody can know me. So this verse actually is a beautiful way of, sometimes Prabhupada used to say like this. Uh, he would preach like this. You say, God is great. Everyone says that. No, God is great, right? Everyone, yeah, God is great. God is great. You know how great God is, right? So this tells us as to how great God is, that he can be in yoga nidra, completely sleeping, and be in complete cognizance of the entire creation. That is the Lord's greatness, right? There's no comparison between the Lord and us. So in Hindi, he would sometimes say, Bhagwan Mahan hai, hum tuchh hai. So the Lord is infinitely great, and we are truly infinitesimal parts and parcels. So this form of the Lord, for those devotees who have been fortunate, is you can have darshan of the Lord. This form of the Lord is, we can have darshan of the Lord. He's present at Sri Rangam, right? Sri Rangam is the same form of the Lord which is being described over here. Also the Ananta Padmanabh temple in Trivandrum, right? This is the same form of the Lord, right? These are very holy places visited by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during South Indian tour. But the Lord is, as described here, he is lying. It is not a coir bed or a nice cotton bed or a Dunlop bed or whatever types of beds are available in this world. Whatever. The Lord is lying on a snake. Now, who would lie down on a snake? The last thing you want to do is to have a snake anywhere in your life around you, right? Snake. The whatever snake strikes fear. Snake, Baba. If some snake was to just a small snake, which is half an inch in breadth and maybe a few inches tall, just come in this room, we all will run away from here. We all run away, someplace. That's how scary snakes are. The very word snake strikes fear. But the Lord is fearless, right? The Lord lies down on a beautiful snake, right? Therefore, is known as one of the Lord's name is Ananta Shayanam. His name is Ananta Shayanam, right? One who's lying on the bed of called as Ananta, right? Another Shayanam. So, Prabhupada is clarifying very beautifully here that the Lord's sleep is Yoga Nidra. He's always aware. And therefore, we also understand that Lord is transcendental. The word yoga is so much misconstrued today, is it not? Prabhupada also talks about this in his purports many times, right? But when you say yoga, the modern man, America, everywhere, where the yoga studios, yoga this, yoga that, right? Yoga is considered as something like, just a physical activity. But yoga is very, very little. The physical component of yoga is very small. Yoga has got to do more with transcendence, right? And the purpose of yoga is to actually elevate the consciousness and link it to transcendence. When yoga connects the soul, the consciousness, the chitta, the chetana, to transcendence, then actually you have reached what is called as the culmination of yoga. Everything else is just a stepping stone. Asana, Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, dhyana, asana, pratyahara, right? And then it goes up, samadhi. But Prabhupada is talking about how devotees actually can reach that stage without going through all this Hatha Yoga process, right? So, therefore, the Lord is called the master of yoga. There are two words Prabhupada uses, Yogishwar and Yogeshwar, right? Yogishwar. Who is Yogeshwar? Yogeshwar is Mahadev. Mahadev is the topmost of all yogis. Therefore, all yogis, usually many yogis are Shaivites. They're Shiva Bhaktas, right? You go to Rishikesh, you go to Hardwar, Lord is yogis are there. They all believe in Mahadevs as the supreme Lord. Whatever. So they are all, he's called as Yogishwar, topmost yogi, right? Therefore, they get their yogic powers from Lord Shiva. right? But the Lord is called as Yogeshwara. He is a master of yogas, right? And even Yogeshwar worships Yogeshwar. Because you know that he gets his power of being a topmost yogi from Yogeshwar. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardhanurdhara. Right? So the first word which came to the mind of Sanjaya when he's describing in the end of the Gita culmination takes place, 18th chapter. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Pardhanurdhara. He glorifies the Lord as Yogeshwara. Right? That means that whatever the Lord does is transcendental. What do you mean of that? That means it is beyond time. So Prabhupada gives a very funny example. It's not funny, yeah, funny also. I said, when Krishna is small, he used to go to the house of the gopis, right? And do various pranks, mischiefs. The most mischievous person in creation is Krishna. There cannot be anyone more mischievous than Krishna. There cannot be anybody more than Krishna in anything. So when it comes to mischief also, he is the supreme mischievous person. That is Krishna. He's the most mischievous person. So he would go to the house of the gopis and pass water. Right? He pass water in the houses. So then Sukadeva Swami writes about that. So Acharyas say that we all pass water. Right? 7-8 times in a day we pass water. But is it glorified anywhere? Does it make difference to anybody? You talk about it even also. It's just something we just get done with, and it's like a natural call, and just. But when the Lord passes water, it becomes a news to be put in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then after 5,000 years, today, when a Vaishnava reads Bhagavatam pages, right, he's just happy the Lord is passing water in the house of the gopis. And he smiles and he laughs and he relishes this simple act of the Lord, apparently playing a human-like form, right? That he is like a Manushya. But the Lord also says that I am not Manushya. But like a Manushya, he plays that role like a human-like form. And yet, after 5,000 years, it is. So when things which are done so many years back are still studied, that means the Lord's passing water is beyond time. Again, we come to the same factor. The Lord came as Narsinghadev how many years back? Treta Yuga. Beyond that, Satyuga, that was Satyuga. Then Ramchandra has, but that is just this Divya Yuga. It's only this Divya Yuga we're talking about, right? When did Lord Jagannath come into this world? The first Manu is Swayambhuva Manu. The second Manu is Swarochisa Manu, right? And then this is the seventh Manu, Vaivasva Manu is going on right now. And each Manu has 71, his tenure is 71 Divya Yugas. So if you count Vaivasva Manu and beyond that, Jagannath Swami came in this world. Rath Yatra started in the second Swarochisa Manu's tenure, right? Until today, unbroken chain of Rath Yatra, except for this Mughal attack and all that, when the Lord had to be hidden somewhere and all that we know, right? But apart from that, partially Yoganashta Parantapa type of thing happened, right? But the Lord's Rath Yatra is going for how many years? Again, it is that you can just sit with the calculator. How many years is the calculator? Millions of years beyond time. Therefore, our dharma, we all are part of what is called as Sanatan Dharma. Our dharma is Sanatan, but our Lord is Sanatan. His activities are Sanatan. Our granthas are Sanatan, right? And teaching of our acharyas is also Sanatan. Prabhupada was relevant, hippie time, all these people were there, he was there, right? What Prabhupada has spoken is not relevant to America, not relevant to India, not relevant to the 21st century, it is relevant for all times to come. His movement may last for 10,000 years, that's another thing. That is the Lord's desire. But the message of Prabhupada is Sanatan. It's Sanatan. If somebody gets a BBT book in next Satyuga, it'll still be relevant. Oh, in the previous Kali Yuga, there is an Acharya called Prabhu Bhaktivedanta Swami, he wrote some book. Let me read that book. He will not say, no, this is a previous Kali Yuga. No. He will say, this is Sanatan. Right? So we are so fortunate that what we are getting even in dark age of Kali, where everything is contaminated, changed, distorted, manipulated, adulterated. Nothing is pure anymore. Every food you eat has got pesticides. And not a single molecule, not a single vegetable, not a single grain, not a single cereal, not a single fruit. Nothing is left in the modern world which is as it is now. Nothing is as it is, except, except Bhagavad Gita. That's the only thing is as it is. The air, is it as it is? As it was created by the Lord? Air is not anymore as it is. Is the water as it is? No. It is H2O plus so many other additives. Everything is mixed. It's not. So everything has changed. But we are still the recipients, by the mercy of the Parampara, and the legacy which is passed from Srila Prabhupada into our hands as it is. Right? And the Lord is transcendental. Therefore, the Lord's activities are called as Gunatita. Guna and Atita. Right? And Trigunatma, this Srishti is Trunatmaka Prakriti. But transcendental means that the Lord is, just like, to understand this, I was thinking about it, like you have the earth, planet, right? And you have layers of atmosphere. Atmosphere, I remember, I read it many years back in my biology. Stratosphere, troposphere, ionosphere, I don't know, whatever spheres are beyond that, I don't know, they might have discovered something else, right? And they're all miles. So many miles is atmosphere, then the stratosphere. There is. So as you go higher, what happens? The act of gravity reduces, right? And when you go beyond that ionosphere, stratosphere also, then you go beyond gravity, like our spaceships, which are launched, Prabhupada used to talk about spaceship, Sputnik, you know what Sputnik, that was the word Sputnik at that time. It was Russia had put the Sputnik in the space, right? So all of our satellites are beyond that. So the Tamaguna is like the lowest of the gunas, and therefore it is strongly attracted to the three modes. So it is like gravity is acting upon it very strongly. Therefore, when you are in Tamaguna, heavily acted upon material energy, heavy action, right? Totally covered over. Therefore, it's like the mode which is actually often covers you over. You have lost your understanding of what you actually are. Then as you go higher in the status, in the away from the earth, they have a less subtle mode, Rajaguna, right? But if you are at Sattva Guna, then the effect of gravity is much less, and gradually start connecting with the realm which is beyond gravity, right? So Sattva Guna is the realm which devotees try to keep themselves into. Because Rajaguna draws them down, Tamaguna is like totally, contaminating type of thing. But when we are keeping ourselves Sattva Guna, we are still accessing energy not from down, but from up. Is it not? We are accessing energy from the transcendental realm. So Sattva Guna is like that, very special zone of consciousness, right? Where the effect of material energy has reduced, and the effect of transcendental energy, what we call Lord's Anant, is called as the Lord's internal energy. This external potency. So external potency has reduced, becomes thinned out. As you know, air gets thinned out. When you go to Badrinath, for example, it's 28,000 feet, right? So the oxygen content is very low, correct? So then somebody they have to carry oxygen bottles and all that. And as you go mountaineering, Kanchenjunga, Dhavalgiri, all the places they go for mountaineering and all that, they have to carry oxygen content is less. Similarly, as you go upwards, the impact of material energy becomes less. And you're in Sattva Guna, you start accessing energy from the transcendental realm, right? Therefore, the word for Sattva Guna is Prakash. The one word we describe Sattva Guna is Prakash. The Chetana becomes illuminated. 17th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, describes divisions of faith. The mode which gives you Prakash is the Sattva Guna. And therefore the process of bhakti, which we all have been blessed with, is actually a modality to keep us at least on the Sattva-guna platform, where even if you're not transcendental, that's going to be difficult. Transcendental is to become Gunatita is very difficult to go beyond the three modes. Actually, nobody can go beyond the three modes. The Lord has to take you beyond the three modes. It's not by our doing, sadhana bhakti, 64 rounds, 128 rounds, whatever rounds you do, right? Nirjal Ekadashi. We can do a lot of such things which may help. But to go beyond the three modes is not possible. It is no human endeavor in the world can take you beyond the three modes. And when Lord gives you shelter of his Antaranga Shakti, right? Srimati Radharani, who's a Hladini Shakti of the Lord, when she blesses us and takes under her shelter, right? Then you become beyond the three modes. But till such time, we would like to keep, by following the four Agdo principles, human platform, at least human platform, basic. Like 35%, in India, we have 30% is passing marks, at least passing 35%, right? Then you do sadhana bhakti, you take vows during initiation, go higher, 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 higher. But remain sattva gunas, right? So, when you say, Namaom Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. So when this personality called Vishnu, because he is Gunatita, you take shelter of Prabhupada, who is also Gunatita, right? And the proof of that Gunatita is there are so many examples of Prabhupada being transcendental. It is not medically possible to be in a stage where you have no food. The calorie intake of Prabhupada dropped severely in October 1977. For several months, from July onwards, there was hardly any calorie intake or any protein intake. Prabhupada used to have Complan. In today's available, is the drink called Complan, right? Some Complan you would have. How much? 1 scoop, 2 scoops of Complan in a glass of water. How many calories? Maybe 100, 150 calories. The basic metabolic rate of the body is 100, it was 800 calories per day just to survive, make the heart beat and the lungs breathe and the brain work. So Prabhupada was taking much less than even the BMR, basal metabolic rate, right? And it went on for several months like that, right? Where his body was swollen, there was a dropsy, could not eat anything. And in October, somewhere around 15th October 77, Pradyumna Prabhu came, Jaya Swami Maharaj came, and another Mataji, I forgot her name, she came, right? Prabhu said, oh, the whole translation team is here. My readers are here. So let's start translating, right? Now here is a man who was speaking so feeble that you do like, Prabhupada is saying something, but it's so feeble. Even people who live best of hearing capacity would be able to hear him. And yet, Prabhupada was beyond the body. It is not medically possible to explain how somebody has not had any food or water for such a long time to have such clear consciousness to translate the Srimad Bhagavatam. At that time, as we know, he was translating 10th canto, 13th chapter. So he did 13th chapter, and then he went into a few pages into the 14th chapter, right? Before he entered the spiritual realm, right? So Prabhupada's consciousness was definitely beyond the three modes. And I'm just giving one example of the many, right? Prabhupada was never within the control of the three modes. So therefore, when we say Namam Vishnu Padaya, this Vishnu we talked about today, he is Gunatita. This personality who is our savior in this world, Prabhupada, he is Gunatita also. Why? Because he is taking shelter of Vishnupada, the Vishnu who is the Gunatita. So what is expected of you and me, all of us as sadhakas? That since we cannot approach Vishnu directly, we take shelter of somebody who is taking shelter of Vishnu, right? So when we take shelter of Prabhupada and his followers in Parampara, then we also are linking ourselves to the transcendental realm. That is the whole point. Our access to transcendental realm is through our spiritual masters and the parampara. And if we are following the process scientifically, properly, with Shraddha, right, then actually that will also raise our consciousness. Because within the three modes, there is birth and death. Within the three modes, there is no liberation on the three mode levels. As long as three modes are acting on the consciousness, we are going to Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jathare Shayanam. The Lord is lying on the bed of Ananta, and we'll be doing Jathare Shayanam in some mother's womb. Jathare Shayanam. The Lord is Ananta Shayanam. We'll be Jathare Shayanam. We'll be lying in somebody's womb after every few years, right? So that is Jathare Shayanam. Correct? So till we are within the realm of the three modes, there is going to be repeated birth and death, right? But when we take shelter of Vishnu Padaya, right? Somebody takes shelter of Vishnu Pad, then gradually, by that grace which flows through the parampara. Parampara is a channel of grace. Parampara is a channel of grace, unlimited grace, flowing from the unlimited Lord. The Lord is so unlimitedly powerful. What is the power of His grace? His grace also is unlimited. Therefore, His Karuna Sindhu, Deenabandhu Jagatpati. That grace has the power to deliver all conditioned souls. All conditioned souls can be delivered, right? So we take shelter of that grace. We take shelter of that grace, then we can be delivered once and for all from cycle of birth and death. Enter the spiritual world. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any questions? So I thank you all very much for your patient hearing. His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shada Govinda Dev Bhagavan ki jai. Gaura Premanandi.